Hi everyone, it's Chris from Stamp Blessings, and I'm here today because yesterday my live was a disaster. I had my internet cutting in and out, and so I'm going to go ahead and retape this because this is such a great tutorial and I want to make sure that you see it in full. When I posted this card on my Facebook group a while back, I had a lot of requests for a tutorial. So I kind of freshened up yesterday and just practiced one more time to make sure I had it straight. And I'll tell you, I used my Deckled scissors. Do you remember those old decorative scissors that we all got? They were all the rage and now they're sitting around collecting dust. Well, I used those on this because I was waiting for my Deckled rectangles to arrive from Stampin' Up. And they did come after I made this card, but today I'm going to show you how easy it is to use these. So before I get started, the main event for this card is the Painted Lavender set, and I did buy it with the matching dies because even though it's not a bundle and these are pricey, I just love how the dies match the stamps, but you also have a couple of extra dies that really kind of hold their own and make some great cards, and I'll be sharing those off and on too. So Painted Lavender, it was in the mini catalog before and it made it into this new catalog here, and I think you can find it on page 78. Let's check real quick. I'm starting to learn this catalog. Yep, there it is, page 78, the Painted Lavender. And this month, close to Stampin' Up is having a bonus days where when you buy $50, you get a $5 coupon to spend in the next month. So in August, you can redeem it. What's nice about that is you can kind of spread your spending over a couple of months and still get happy mail. So let's go ahead and talk about how we made this card. Before I get too involved, I want to talk to you about watercolor paper. Now, Stampin' Up does carry watercolor paper, but to be honest, the price point is a little bit touchy for me. So I have gone to big box stores, I've gone to Walmart and tried different papers. Today I'm going to actually be using this Ranger Distress watercolor paper, but I've also used this watercolor paper that you might have seen before. What is not so great about this is that it's a little bit yellowish, and you'll see from the card I made here, it's got kind of a little bit of an ivory or yellow tone. When you stick it right against white, you can see the difference. So I also have used successfully this mixed media paper. It's pretty inexpensive. It is really thin, but for a technique like this, I'm not soaking it with a lot of water, so I found this has worked out great too. I'd say experiment with it. The other thing that we need to use is a water bottle to spritz, and you might have something, a big tool like this. And then there's these little spritzers here that are a little bit finer spritz, and you can find those on page 118 in the Stampin' Up catalog. And there, the spritzers, you get 2 for $6, and I think that's a really good price. So well, let's go ahead and get started. So I did cut my Deckled watercolored background, and that's from the largest die. And it will have a nice border when I get done with this. I've pre-mounted my stamps, and the inks that I'm going to be using are Close to My Heart inks, and that's because that's what I still have on hand. A lot of you already have Stampin' Up inks, so that's great. You can use any dye ink, just you want to make sure that it's dye and not pigment or permanent. So I'm going to do a rock and roll technique, and you may have heard of it, you may have done it before. What I like about it is it gives me a little color variation right off the bat. So I'll start with the lighter color, and then I'm going to roll it into the darker color. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and stamp here, or ink up. And now I'm going to just take my image and I'm going to touch down on the bottom and then just kind of roll it back and forth. And you're going to see when you look up close, you can see that I did get a little bit darker ink there. I think I want a little bit more. So I was pretty gentle and careful. I'm going to try and get a little bit more in there. So let's see. Yep, there's a little bit more. And the next thing I want to do is just spritz across the top, not directly down on it, but across the face of it. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to go ahead, and I like to start off to the side canted because I'm going to build my bouquet this way. I'm going to go ahead and touch down. The longer I hold it, the more ink goes into the paper. I'm going to lift up, and I might have enough ink left to do a second generation. Let's see. Yeah, came out nice. So I'm going to repeat that process a couple of times. Ink with the lighter color, then come in and roll with the darker color. And I'm going to go ahead and spritz. If I spritz too much and it gets too watery, that's okay because we're going to come back and add some more. I'm going to do it one more time. This time I'm going to roll on the outside because I'm building my bouquet this way and I want that ink to show over there. I'm going to go ahead and show you with this one. I'm going to go spritz and you'll see it works just as well. So whatever you have on hand, use it. All right. So now I've built my bouquet and I think I'm a little bit short there. I want to get a little bit more ink color. So I'm going to go one more time, spritz, and I'm going to just come in off to the side here. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I want to come back with a little bit of a darker color and these 4 little blossoms, because that's going to kind of fill in the really watery area. And I come in with a darker color. I have used sangria on this one, but I felt like it was more reddish and I really wanted to go more like a lavender. I just bought some lavender plants at Home Depot and I'm really excited. I hope that they make it. So on this one, I'm not going to go ahead and spritz it because I want the full color in there. If I find that it's too dark though, I could always come back and give it a little spritz because then that'll just blend it out. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. And I like to just kind of rotate these around. So let's say, that's a little bit dark. You want it to blend a little bit more. You can just go ahead and spritz in there and that'll make it start to blend out a little bit. We're going to use that same technique with the stem. And for this one, I'm using an avocado ink. I'm going to just go ahead and ink up that stem, spritz, and then I'm going to go ahead and come down and stamp. And I'm going to go ahead and do that second generation right away. Let's see if we can even go for a third. Yep. So I'll go one more time, spritz. Now in the catalog, on page 118 where you can buy these supplies, what Stampin' Up did for their card is they stamped directly on the paper and then kind of like what I just did on those little blossoms, they went through and spritz till it all started blending. I like this way because I feel like I have a little bit more control. Not a lot, but a little bit more control. Now I've prepped a stem, and this is almost like a rosemary branch to me, but I wanted to show you, I did some ink swiping on a card last week, and on this card here, I went ahead and I die cut that image. So I really like that because you've got an extra variation on there. Okay, and so I'm going to want to go ahead and glue that on. Right now it's a little bit wet, so I'm going to show you a tip that I like to do for gluing. I've got a lot of glue that comes out sometimes too fast, and when you have something this fine, I like to just put the glue out on a scrap piece of paper, and then I just touch my images, my die cuts, to that and I pick up the glue lightly on the back. So there I have some glue, but I'm not kind of smushing it out. And now I can go ahead and lay that straight down. If I were doing this normally, I would probably wait for just a second for it to dry, but right now everything's going pretty good, so I won't stop. I just will trim off those edges. And what I did realize is in my preparation, I didn't get a card base, so I'll have to do that in a minute. But let's go ahead and keep going. I've also prepped a sentiment strip. And this is from the Latte Love set. I'm going to just show you my technique for making perfect little fans. So when I go in, I come in through the center and I snip in probably about 1/4 of an inch. It just depends on how much space you've left. But then I turn and I come in from one corner and I turn and I come in from the other corner right to that center cut. And I really like the result. I'm pretty happy with it, but you could always keep working at it. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop this up. Many of you are probably familiar with the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I never really used them a lot, but I have to say I love them. I'm not usually a pop it up person, but these are not too bulky and the backing peels off so easy. I have some tape that I'm forever taking scissors and like X-Acto knives and working on that back piece. So now I'm just going to come in. And what's nice about this too is you can kind of put it wherever you want. So maybe you're not really happy with the stamping right there. You could put it to the side because this is just going to be still put on a card base. You can put it right here, wherever you want. And I'm going to just touch that down. Well, let me grab a card base real quick. And you can see I've used some different purples in the past, but I'm going to try what it looks like on a white. So give me 1 second. All right. So for my card bases, I tend to just cut my cardstock in half and then I give it a nice score. And now I can go ahead and layer that. And I was just thinking while I was working here that I thought it would be so pretty on white. And also, because the watercolor paper that I used is white, it's not going to clash with a white base. Whereas something like this, it just doesn't look very nice on top of white. So let's go ahead and give it some glue. And you can see how quick and easy this card is. It looks like that you watercolored it, so that's why I called it a faux watercolor, but it is beautiful. And I love that each one turns out differently. Well, I hope you give this a try. Make sure that you leave a comment and like my video. I'll come back and respond if you have any questions. And if you're watching this on YouTube, would you like and subscribe? I'd love it. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to my faux watercolor tutorial using the Painted Lavender set, but you could use really any kind of set like this. I was thinking maybe that Hollyhocks or the Snapdragon set would look really cool with this too. Well, give it a try. Thanks for watching.